Not all shadows come in the dark. Some walk beside us in broad daylight, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the perfect moment to unravel everything we thought was true. In a world where wealth and privilege create unshakable walls, a single moment can tear them down. A name called out. A fleeting glance. A truth too painful to face. One afternoon, under the sweltering Lagos sun, the air grew heavy, not with heat, but with something far more dangerous. A choice was made. A lie was spoken. And in that instant, life as it was known began to crumble. But what happens when the past refuses to stay buried? When fate forces a reckoning? Nothing is ever as perfect as it seems. And sometimes, the ones we run from are the ones we need the most. Stay with us, this story will leave you breathless. In the bustling city of Lagos lived a 15-year-old girl named Precious. She had everything a teenager could dream of: a beautiful, spacious house in Lagos, an affluent part of town, and a life full of luxury. Precious lived with her aunt, Ruth, who provided her with the best things money could buy. She attended the finest school, wore fashionable clothes, and enjoyed the latest gadgets. Life seemed perfect, or so she believed. But Precious carried a secret. Her real mother, Mary, wasn't wealthy. Years ago, Mary had made the painful decision to let her sister, Ruth, raise Precious, hoping to give her a better life. Mary worked tirelessly selling food on the streets, living in poverty while dreaming of a brighter future for her daughter. Over time, Precious forgot her humble beginnings. She became proud and looked down on less fortunate people, unaware that her life was about to change drastically. One sweltering afternoon, Mary decided to visit Ruth's house. She had endured a long journey, taking 2 buses and walking for over an hour under the scorching sun. When she arrived, her faded blouse and worn wrapper stood out in the luxurious neighborhood. Ruth greeted her warmly, embracing her sister. "Mary, it's so good to see you. How have you been?" Ruth asked. "I'm managing, my dear," Mary replied with a weary smile. "How's my Precious?" "She's doing well in school," Ruth answered. "She's not back yet, school ends at 4 p.m. Mary's eyes lit up with excitement. "Oh, can I go pick her up? I haven't seen her in so long." Ruth hesitated for a moment before nodding. "Of course. The driver can take you to the school." Mary's heart raced as the car approached the school. She could hardly wait to hug her daughter and tell her how much she had missed her. As the car drew closer, Mary spotted Precious standing with her friends, all dressed in neat uniforms. "Stop here, please," Mary said to the driver. She stepped out of the car, her eyes locked on her daughter. "Precious! Precious, my daughter," she called out, waving enthusiastically. Precious froze, her eyes wide with shock and embarrassment. Her friends turned to look, their expressions a mix of confusion and disdain. "Who's that, Precious?" one of her friends, Joy, asked, eyeing Mary's shabby appearance with disgust. Precious's heart pounded as panic surged through her. Without thinking, she sneered, "Oh, that's just our house help. She's here to pick me up from school." Mary's heart shattered. She had dreamed of this reunion for so long, imagining a joyful embrace. Instead, she was left feeling hurt and rejected by her own daughter. Precious carelessly tossed her expensive school bag on the ground. "Pick it up and follow me to the car," she ordered coldly, walking off without a backward glance. Mary bent down slowly to pick up the bag. As she followed Precious, she tried her best to ignore the whispers and judgmental stares from students and parents alike. The short walk to the car felt like an eternity, each step a painful reminder of the emotional distance that had grown between her and her daughter. In the car, Precious sat as far away from Mary as possible, engrossed in her phone and pretending her mother wasn't there. Mary sat silently, her heart weighed down by sadness. When they arrived home, Precious rushed inside without saying a word. Mary followed at a slower pace, carrying her daughter's bag. In the living room, Ruth was waiting. She noticed the sorrow etched on Mary's face and instantly knew something was wrong. What happened? Ruth asked, concern evident in her voice. With tears streaming down her cheeks, Mary recounted what Precious had done. Her voice trembled as she spoke, heavy with pain and disappointment. Ruth listened in stunned silence as Mary finished recounting what had happened. Finally, Ruth called out angrily, "Precious, come down here right now." Precious entered the room, still engrossed in her phone. "What is it, Auntie?" she asked casually, without looking up. "Put that phone down and look at me," Ruth said sternly. Precious reluctantly obeyed, sensing the tension in the room. Her eyes flickered from her aunt to her mother as she realized she was in trouble. "Is it true, what your mother just told me?" Ruth demanded. "Did you pretend she was a house help at your school?" Precious's face turned pale. She hesitated before stammering, I didn't mean to." "Don't lie to me, Precious," Ruth interrupted sharply. "What you did was cruel and shameful. I am deeply disappointed in you." Precious lowered her gaze, unable to meet her aunt's fiery glare. Ruth took a deep breath before continuing, "As punishment, you live with your mother for 1 year. You'll walk to school every day, and she will pick you up afterward. You will also apologize to her in front of your friends for what you did." Precious's head snapped up, her eyes wide with disbelief. "But Auntie, you can't." "I can, and I will," Ruth cut her off firmly. "You need to learn humility and respect. Your mother has sacrificed everything for you, and this is how you treat her." Tears welled up in Precious's eyes as the reality of her situation sank in. The thought of leaving her comfortable life behind terrified her. "Please, Auntie, I'm sorry. It won't happen again," she pleaded. But Ruth's decision was final. "Pack your things, Precious. You're leaving with your mother tonight." As Precious reluctantly went upstairs to pack, Mary turned to her sister, concerned. "Ruth, is this really necessary?" "I don't want to disrupt her life," she said quietly. Ruth took Mary's hands and looked into her eyes. "This is for Precious's own good. She needs to learn the value of hard work and the importance of family. It's time she understands the sacrifices you've made for her." That evening, Precious left with her mother. Her expensive suitcases looked out of place against the backdrop of Mary's modest apartment in Agon, a crowded, poverty-stricken area of Lagos. The abrupt change was overwhelming. Instead of a spacious, air-conditioned room, Precious now had to share a tiny space with a bathroom down the hall. The first few weeks were incredibly difficult for Precious. She complained about everything: the noise, the heat, the lack of internet. She missed her friends, her soft bed, and the comforts of her privileged life. But as time passed, something began to shift in her. Precious started observing her mother's daily routine, waking up before dawn, working tirelessly to prepare and sell food on the streets, or to provide for them. She saw how Mary, despite her exhaustion, always had kind words for their neighbors and shared what little they had with those in need. Slowly, Precious's perspective began to change. She started helping her mother in the mornings before school, learning how to cook and interact with customers. She walked to school every day, her once fancy shoes becoming worn and dusty on the rough roads. For the first time in her life, Precious began to understand the meaning of hard work and the strength it took to survive. At first, Precious felt deeply embarrassed whenever her mother came to pick her up from school. But over time, she began to look forward to seeing her mother's warm and familiar face in the crowd. In the evenings, as they sat together in their small room, Mary would share stories from her childhood, her dreams, her struggles, and her reasons for sending Precious to live with Ruth. For the first time, Precious truly listened and realized just how much her mother loved her. As the months went by, Precious's perspective on life began to shift. She made new friends at school, friends who didn't care about expensive clothes or fancy gadgets. She learned to find joy in simple things, the fresh sweetness of fruit from street vendors, the sound of children laughing as they played, and the sense of belonging to a tight-knit community. 1 year later, a completely transformed Precious stood before her mother and aunt. They were back at Ruth's house, marking the end of Precious's time away. Tears rolled down Precious's cheeks as she spoke, her voice trembling with emotion. "Mama, Auntie," she began, "I'm so sorry for how I behaved last year. I've learned that being rich isn't about having nice clothes or going to a fancy school. It's about having people who love you and being a good person. Please forgive me." Mary pulled her daughter into a heartfelt embrace. "I forgive you, my child," she said gently. "You've learned an invaluable lesson." Ruth stood nearby, smiling as she watched the scene unfold. "Precious," she said, "you've grown so much this past year. Are you ready to come back home?" Precious looked at her mother and then back at her aunt. "Actually, Auntie," she replied, "if it's okay with you and Mama, I'd like to stay with Mama for a little while longer. There's still so much I want to learn from her." Mary's eyes filled with tears of joy as she hugged her daughter again. Ruth nodded approvingly, proud of the young woman Precious had become. From that day forward, Precious no longer judged people based on their appearance or possessions. She had come to understand that true worth lies in kindness, love, and the goodness of one's heart. Thank you for watching this heartfelt story about love, sacrifice, and personal growth. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more inspiring content like this, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Nejitrends TV. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest stories. Stay tuned for more captivating tales that touch the heart and inspire the soul. Thank you for your support.